what if, and just imagine this for a second, you're standing on the edge of this land. This land is incredible. It's full of potential. It's everything you've ever dreamed of. It's been promised to your people. There's just one thing. There's a catch. Your future completely hinges on the choices that you make.
That's a pretty powerful image, right?
It is, and that's exactly what we find in Deuteronomy, chapters 26 through 28.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where Moses is laying out the stakes, no pun intended, for the Israelites.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that, and we're diving into this today, this concept of blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience.
Right.
And we're not talking about just some abstract sense here.
Right.
This is like detailed, vivid descriptions of what these blessings and curses could look like. So starting in chapter 26, we get this ritual of offering the first fruits
Oh, yeah.
of the harvest to God.
Okay.
And I think it's interesting. It's not just about giving something back, but it's specifically about bringing the best of what you've grown. Why that emphasis?
Well, what's really interesting is that it goes beyond just a simple offering, you know. This is about cultivating a mindset of gratitude. Just imagine the Israelites bringing in the first ripe fruit, acknowledging that their abundance is a gift. It's about recognizing a power greater than themselves and expressing appreciation for what they've been given. And you know what?
Right.
Even today, studies show that practicing gratitude has incredible benefits for our well-being.
Oh, wow.
It reduces stress, and it can even improve physical health.
And it's fascinating because right after this offering, they make this powerful declaration. They say, "We are your people." And it's more than just stating a fact. It feels like this real commitment, like a defining moment.
You're absolutely right. It's about forging a shared identity, belonging to a group, especially a group with shared purpose, values, and history.
Yeah.
That's a fundamental human need.
It is.
And this declaration that they make, this cements their connection to God and to each other,
Yeah.
creating the sense of unity, belonging that would carry them forward. And, you know, even today, we still see how belonging to groups, whether it's family or community or a nation, really shapes our sense of self and our purpose.
So then we get to chapter 27 and things get
Oh, yeah.
a little bit more visual. They are instructed to inscribe the law on these giant stones and then place them on mountains for everyone to see.
Oh, wow.
It's like a billboard for their commitment.
It's about making the abstract a little bit more concrete. I mean, think about the ways that we still do this today. We use physical reminders.
Yeah.
I mean, think about a vision board or a motivational quote on your desk.
Oh, yeah.
Or even
a tattoo.
A tattoo. That represents something that's really important to you. These stones, they served as this constant reminder of their covenant.
Yeah.
And speaking of covenant,
Yeah.
it's important to understand this is not a one-sided deal. It's this sacred agreement, a bond of mutual commitment and responsibility between God and his people.
And they take it a step further with this whole ceremony, with blessings from one mountain and curses from another. And I'm just curious, was this just for dramatic effect?
I think it's more than that. I think it's about creating this powerful emotional connection to the consequences of their choices.
Yeah.
By physically going to these different locations
Yeah.
and experiencing these pronouncements, it really would have left a lasting impression. It's kind of like the difference between just reading about a historical event and actually going and visiting the site where it happened.
Right.
The experience just becomes that much more real, that much more impactful.
So chapter 28 goes into some of the details.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty intense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the blessings first. What are some of the ones that really would have resonated with the Israelites, like the most vivid ones?
Okay, so imagine this. Abundant harvests, to the point where your barns are literally overflowing.
Wow.
Your livestock, they're healthy, they're multiplying. You have peace within your borders. And you have respect and admiration from other nations. You basically have this life of abundance, security, and influence. It paints this really powerful picture of what it means to live in alignment, I guess, with divine favor.
And then there's the flip side. So what were some of the curses
that
would have really struck fear into their hearts?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit more stark. We're talking about crop failure, famine, plagues, constant warfare,
Oh, no.
and ultimately exile from the land. The text really doesn't shy away from describing these devastating consequences.
Wow.
And it's a good reminder that our choices have consequences, very real and sometimes very painful consequences.
Yeah, it feels almost like a scare tactic, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, do this or else.
I think it's more nuanced than that. It's about emphasizing the gravity of the situation.
Okay.
Remember, this is a God who deeply loves his people and wants them to flourish. The curses aren't meant to be these arbitrary punishments, but rather natural consequences of actions that ultimately lead to harm, individually and collectively.
So, I mean, we've been in this ancient text, but how does any of this apply to us in the 21st century? We're not facing, like, literal curses for eating shellfish, right?
Exactly right. I mean, the key takeaway isn't about these literal curses. It's about understanding this principle that our choices have consequences, whether we are aware of them or not. Just like the Israelites, we still experience blessings when we act with integrity, kindness, generosity.
Yeah.
These actions create positive ripples in our lives and in the lives of others.
So you're saying there's a modern-day equivalent
Absolutely.
to those blessings?
Yeah.
So like inner peace, strong relationships, a sense of purpose?
Exactly, yeah. And conversely, when we make choices that go against our values, that harm others, or that contribute to negativity in the world,
Yeah.
we experience those curses in the form of inner turmoil, in the form of broken relationships and a lack of fulfillment.
It makes you look at the world around you a little bit differently, doesn't it?
It really does.
Where do you see these principles playing out in modern society?
Yeah. Well, look at the consequences of environmental disregard. The pollution,
Yeah.
the depletion of resources, the impact it has on human health.
Right.
Or consider the societal effects of dishonesty and greed in business and politics.
Yeah.
These are modern-day echoes of those ancient warnings, reminding us that our choices matter, not just for ourselves,
Right.
but for the world around us. I think this would be a really great question for our listeners to ponder as well. Where do they see these principles playing out in their lives?
Yeah. So we've gone really deep into this idea of blessings and curses, not as this rigid rule book, right?
Right.
But as this reflection of how our choices really do shape our lives and the world that we live in.
Absolutely. And if I can leave our listeners with just one final thought, it would be this. If you were to inscribe a law, a guiding principle for your own life on a stone,
Oh, wow.
what would it be? What one principle would you choose to live by, knowing that your actions would ripple outwards and really impact the world around you?
That is a powerful question to consider. Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But I hope it sparks further reflection for you. So think about how these ancient ideas, these timeless principles, might have some surprising relevance in your own life. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.